The cheerleader Weston was practicing somersaults, completely unaware of the football players rapidly approaching on the field. To everyone's shock, the boy's upper body twisted 180 degrees. His chest and buttocks were aligned on the same plane.
911, what's your emergency?
The cheerleader is ass backwards.
Paramedics soon arrived at the scene, but when they saw Weston's condition, even the experienced paramedic Hen had never encountered such a difficult case. Eddie, who had seen this type of injury before in Afghanistan, explained that Weston had what's known as an open book fracture, meaning his pelvis was broken. There are a lot of arteries in the pelvis, so they had to be very careful when taking him to the hospital. Weston's mother was extremely worried, asking if her son would be paralyzed. Chimney quickly took off the boy's shoe and stimulated the solace of his foot. Fortunately, the boy had sensation. Moreover, his hands and arms also responded, initially indicating no serious neck injury. They thought they could take him to the hospital immediately, but before they could get him onto the ambulance, the boy suddenly fell unconscious, and his blood pressure rapidly dropped. Eddie determined that there was an internal bleeding point. Then they quickly loaded Weston onto the ambulance. However, due to the terrible traffic in LA, it would take at least another 12 minutes to reach the hospital. The boy had lost too much blood, and if they couldn't stop the bleeding, he wouldn't make it to the hospital. In a critical moment, Eddie decided to use a balloon to block the aorta. Hen was stunned. Performing such a complex procedure, a moving ambulance seemed nearly impossible, but Eddie insisted. He had performed it on the front lines in Afghanistan twice. Hen quickly fetched the ultrasound device, accurately locating the femoral artery. Just as Eddie prepared to insert the needle, the ambulance started to bounce.
Jim, you gotta keep it steady. My hand slips. I puncture his artery.
Copy that.
Eddie quickly stabilized the catheter while Hen tracked it carefully, ensuring it reached the correct artery. Hen then inflated the balloon.
BP's back, and so is our boy!
And soon Weston regained consciousness. A man's chest was almost torn apart, but he insisted it was his pit bull that scratched him. Sergeant Grant found it suspicious and pressed him about what he was really keeping at home before the man could confess. The landlady arrived to inspect the apartment. She was holding an eviction notice, planning to confront the tenant. Because he hadn't paid rent for 4 months, there were noises inside, but no one answered. So she used her key to open the door and found with debris scattered everywhere. Suddenly, a low growl came from behind her. She turned around and was so terrified. 911 received an emergency call. The woman covered in blood was hiding in the bathroom, shouting that she had been attacked by a tiger. The dispatcher quickly confirmed the address and sent the fire department to rescue her. The victim was on the 8th floor. The captain ordered the team to descend from the rooftop to handle the tiger. They also brought a tranquilizer gun.
You sure about this?
Hell yeah. I just wish I was trying to hit him with a paintball.
Chimney arrived quickly outside the 8th floor window with the gun. He looked around for a while but didn't see the tiger.
You sure you're on the right floor, Chim?
After confirming he was at the correct floor, he took out the tranquilizer gun. But just as he aimed, the woman in the bathroom, hearing noise, thought the rescuers had arrived. Dizzy from blood loss, she opened the door. The sudden movement instantly attracted the tiger. Chimney acted fast, firing a shot at the tiger's rear. In that critical moment, the tiger suddenly lost its strength and slowly collapsed to the ground. Chimney signaled, and the waiting firefighters rushed in. The landlady, narrowly surviving, weakly said,
No pets.
The firefighters arrived at a warehouse. A man said their operator Marty was trapped by the conveyor system. Marty's arm was tightly stuck in between. Blood had flowed a lot. Casey came up to stabilize Marty. McCollum needed to check the machine control. At that moment, the conveyor system suddenly started up. Marty screamed in pain. It looked like there was an issue with the system's circuit. McCollum temporarily shut it down. Casey tried to pry the machine with a halogen bar, but was unsuccessful. He warned the man's shoulders gonna separate if that thing starts up again.
I'm just trying to disconnect it.
But then the system started up again. At the same time, Casey almost lost his balance and nearly fell.
No, stop that. 1, 2, 3.
Fortunately, everyone was safe in the end. Casey said the man's skin was starting to turn gray, which was a sign of crush syndrome. Chief confirmed with McCollum that the conveyor system could now be controlled. As McCollum counted down to 3, the conveyor system began backing up. Marty's arm was successfully freed. He needed to be immediately taken to the hospital. Paramedics were called out. A woman said somebody is stuck in the clothing drop. She heard them calling for help. Shay went up to check, but didn't find anyone.
I don't see anybody in here.
Dawson felt uneasy. She went up to check again.
Dawson, what are you doing?
Sure enough, she found an unconscious girl.
She's not breathing!
Soon firefighters arrived. Shay threw in a few hot packs. Dawson said the girl was agonal breathing at that moment. Lieutenant Casey asked Harriman to get the saw. Candidate Jones rushed to get it first, but she overlooked the weight of the saw.
A lot heavier than the ones we trained on.
Candidate! Is your name Herman?
The blade was all jacked up. At this moment, the squad team brought another saw. The door was quickly opened. The girl received timely treatment. Firefighters responded to an incident at a courthouse in the middle of a murder trial. The victim's father snuck a knife through security and stabbed the defendant. The man was bleeding out. At this moment, the man was very agitated. The paramedic said his lung was hit and it could develop into a pneumothorax. He needed to be taken to the hospital immediately, but just as the cop was unlocking the man, the key broke off in the lock.
Cops all over the place. Somebody's gotta have a key.
These are maximum security cops. Standard key won't fit.
The man was losing a lot of blood at this moment. They needed to unlock the man right away. Casey tried with all his strength but couldn't pry open the lock. He instructed to firefighters to search for a CO2 extinguisher as quickly as possible. Herman finally found one, but this time he was a step slower than Candidate Jones. As the extinguisher sprayed onto the eye bolt, the lock was finally pried open. The man was immediately taken to the hospital. Paramedics were called out to an incident at an office. A man named Jacob seemed to be in bad condition. He was sweating profusely and unable to speak. When Shay was about to check on him, Jacob pushed her away.
We're just trying to help you, okay?
I told you no.
He's praying.
It turned out he didn't want to be treated because of religious reasons, yet Rafferty didn't want to let up. She told the man, if we're called, we've got to check your vitals, otherwise we could be written up. Jacob nodded in agreement. Through the examination, they discovered his lungs were filling with fluid, meaning he was experiencing pulmonary edema.
If you don't let us help you, you will die.
This is Will.
This is what's happening, okay? Your lungs, they are filling with fluid, all right? You're drowning from the inside, and in 1 minute, your heart's gonna stop.
She told him to nod if he wanted treatment, and then took his body going into shock as consent.
No, I'll get Rafferty. I don't think he wants to survive.
At this point, Jacob began to experience VFib. They laid him on the ground after injecting him with furosemide. Jacob's heart rate began to return to normal.
Okay, let's get you some air.
Later, Jacob filed a high-level complaint, which resulted in Rafferty being hit with a suspension. A woman fainted and fell on the train tracks. A firefighter rushed forward to rescue her. Unfortunately, the train was just pulling into the station. Just moments ago, the firefighters returned from their mission. Ritter spotted the frantic crowd on the platform. Without hesitation, he jumped off the fire truck and dashed towards the platform. Only then did he see the woman lying on the tracks. The platform was now crowded with people, but none were willing to go down and help. Without any second thoughts, Ritter jumped down from the platform. However, the train had already entered the station and was about to come rushing in. But at that moment, Ritter couldn't care less about anything else. He picked up the woman and carried her towards the platform. Fortunately, his teammate arrived just in time and caught the woman, but the train was approaching rapidly. Yet Ritter failed to climb up. Luckily, with the help of his teammate, he was pulled up at the very last second. As they watched the train whizzing by, the two finally felt the fear.
Oh, man, that was amazing.
Help me! I'm stuck! Whoa, Lieutenant!
Hey, Cap, Tony, let's move!
How do we cut this guy out without getting electrocuted?
We gotta break the circuit from the emergency shutoff.
Where's that?
One wrong cut. Body gets charged, we all get zapped. We gotta find the main power cable and that connects the motor to the battery.
How do we know when we see that?
Should be orange.
Is that it?
Yeah, looks like it.
I got it, we're clear.